I've always said that if the benefits of exercise could be put in a pill, it would be the single greatest blockbuster medication of all time. It's that good for you. However, there are certain workout mistakes that I've seen people make that prevents them from maximizing their results. Heck, some of these mistakes could even prevent people from losing weight. Imagine that. So in this video, I'm going to show you the top 5 workout mistakes you need to avoid. And make sure to stick around until the end of the video because I'm going to show you how to burn up to an extra 2,000 calories outside of exercise without even trying. This could be an absolute game changer for you. These are the exact same tips that I give to all my students, and they've all gone to see some amazing results. So you know it works. Before we get started, give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell to get notified every time I post a new video every week. All right, let's dive in. Number 1, this is probably the most common mistake out there. You're doing too much cardio or you're only doing cardio for fat loss. These days, everyone including their dog is wearing a fitness tracker or they're counting how many calories they've burned on their favorite cardio machine because it's all about the calories, right? And it sounds great in theory. So let's say you burn an extra 1,000 calories every day from your 30-minute session on the treadmill or the elliptical. It should theoretically result into pounds off the scale. You do a little math and you're supposed to lose 2 pounds a week in theory. You extrapolate that and you're supposed to lose 8 pounds in a month. The problem is, it doesn't really work that way. Here's the ugly truth about only doing cardio for exercise, where you're just counting calories. Falling into what's called chronic cardio patterns, where you're just going for your daily 30 minutes on the elliptical, or your 5K or 3-mile run every day, does not help you lose body fat. Don't get me wrong, running has its own set of benefits. For example, it makes your heart stronger and it can pump more blood throughout your body, but weight loss isn't one of them. And if you're not losing weight, even though you've put countless hours on the treadmill, you already know this to be true. The other thing that you also have to consider is exercise is a type of stress. Doing chronic cardio can then lead to chronic stress, which often results into mistake number 2. You're overtraining. A lot of people don't really make this connection, but the human body treats all types of stress the same way. When we experience a stressful event, whether you're stressed from work or school, maybe you're going through a breakup or you're having financial problems, or again, when you exercise, the built-in fight or flight response gets triggered in our body. Our bloodstream gets flooded with hormones and neurotransmitters like cortisol, which is our stress hormone. Remember, calories matter, but hormones are more important. Now, short-term stress isn't really a bad thing. The problem starts when it becomes chronic. This is where we circle back to chronic cardio patterns. You're doing cardio workouts like running that are too long, too hard, that's above your maximum aerobic heart rate, and I want you to keep that in mind, and too frequently with insufficient rest. So if you do that every day, 7 days a week, sometimes twice a day because you think more is better, because again, you get to burn more calories, the stress from cardio becomes chronic. Chronic stress then leads to chronically high cortisol levels, which then eventually leads to systemic inflammation. In case you didn't know, systemic inflammation is the root cause of all types of nasty disease. Chronically high cortisol also has a really big effect on weight gain, specifically around your belly. So if you're an avid runner and you're not losing weight, or worse, you find that your body's starting to look like a pear, you're starting to gain weight specifically around your belly, the infamous spare tire, this is why. I'm not saying you should never do cardio or go for a run. Once or twice a week, do it. But it should not be your only form of exercise. The problem is a majority of people do exactly that. And I get it. It's super easy to get started with. I always see the same people running when I'm out for my daily morning walk. There are levels to this. It's better than nothing, but it doesn't make it optimal. Far from it. The solution, especially if you want long-term sustainable fat loss and improve your overall health with the side effect that you look good naked, your number 1 goal is to make yourself as physically strong as humanly possible. You achieve that through strength training to build muscle, not cardio. Because cardio is catabolic, which means to break down, while lifting weights is anabolic, which means to build. Building and maintaining muscle through strength training is also a very energy expensive process. That's why having a lot of lean muscle is the key driver of your metabolism. The faster your metabolism is, the easier it becomes to lose fat, and the more you get to eat. Who doesn't want that? Notice how your super muscular friend usually gets to eat more food than you and just have more flexibility when it comes to their diet. This is why. Mistake number 3, not using the right intensity. There are 2 sides to this. First, you underestimate yourself. You think you're a lot weaker than you are, so you don't really push yourself. You don't push yourself to the extent that you're fully capable of. That would actually be the most beneficial and elicit the biggest change. Or you're on the other side of the coin and you overestimate your capabilities. Maybe you're one of those ego lifters. You go way too heavy to the point where you compromise form and range of motion. Or again, you work out way too much, which often results in injury and or overtraining. The truth, as always, is usually somewhere in between. You You want to push yourself hard enough to elicit a beneficial physiological response, but not too much where your form breaks down. I usually see underestimating more common with women, and that's why I see a lot of them spend 90% of their time in the cardio machine area, or they use the super lame excuse that they don't want to lift weights, so they use these dinky little bands because they're somehow scared of putting on muscle because they don't want to look like an Amazonian warrior. That takes years of hard work and strict dieting, by the way. Plus, what's wrong with having muscle? Strong is the new sexy. And if you ever want to achieve that tight and toned look, you need to lift weights and put on muscle to achieve that. While overestimating is usually more common with men. This is where you often see dudes just stack plates on the bar because they want to look impressive, but they're only able to do half of the required range of motion. They squat like this. Or again, people overestimate what their bodies are capable of. They want to make up for years of inactivity all at once, which again results in overtraining and all of the negative side effects of pushing your body way too hard. Which brings us back to mistake number 2. I can personally relate to overtraining recently. I tend to have a very competitive personality. I think it just comes from doing competitive sports for years. When I started doing Muay Thai last year, I wanted to be good right away. So I went 7 days a week. Oftentimes, I would do 2-a-days. I think my record was 12 classes in 1 week. I basically lived in the gym. That was dumb. And I did make progress really fast. The trade-off though was my body felt broken the entire time. I would always wake up tired. It was hard to walk first thing in the morning because my calves and the tendons on my feet were really tight and sore from training, and then I would do it again. I didn't realize that I was overtraining until my body was basically ready to tap out. When you're overtraining, it actually makes it so much harder to make progress. It's just not sustainable. You're actually not overtraining. That's not the right term. You're under-recovering. When you're under-recovering, your body is never fully at 100%, and that's usually when people get injured. The easiest way to fix this is again to just scale back a little. Think less but better. Speaking of injury, injuries also happen when you unnecessarily overcomplicate things. I'm always amused/concerned whenever I see people do weird stuff at the gym, like when they do this, or when they try to do this. A lot of people have the right intention when they do stuff like that. My only question is, why don't you just keep it simple? A basic squat or deadlift is going to be infinitely better than what you're doing. The risk of injury is also infinitely less. Like if your goal is to build some muscle to have that tight and toned look, or just have a flat stomach, maybe see some abs and fit better into your clothes, I'm going to throw a lot of people under the bus when I say this. You can achieve all those things by just focusing on 3 movements: pull-ups, push-ups, and squats. That is it. It doesn't have to be complicated for it to be effective. That will always stay true. And guess what? You don't even need to go to the gym to do any of those 3 movements. It costs $0 to do them. By the way, have you seen how much a Peloton costs? You can buy a car with that money. Barry's in the US charges close to $300 a month. Like, what? Okay, rant over. Let's talk about each movement real quick. If you can't do a regular push-up, that's okay. You can do it off your knees or elevate yourself a little bit to make it easier. If you don't have access to a pull-up bar or can't do a pull-up yet, no problem. You can just do bodyweight rows. Find something sturdy that can hold your body weight, like underneath a table, and do it there. Pro tip, you can go to a playground and do your pull-ups there. Quick disclaimer though, if you have one of those pull-up bars that can hang at your door, I want you to proceed with extreme caution. I have seen way too many fail videos with those things. Don't come back to this video saying you injured yourself because of me. While the squat is the king of all exercises. It's easily the most functional movement and the one that you probably need the most in your life. If you recently bought a workout program that doesn't involve squats, you should ask for your money back. And you don't have to do your squats weighted when you're just starting out. You can just do bodyweight squats. Yes, bodyweight squats are easy when you just do 3. When you do 100 or 300, it's a completely different story. Think about people who purely do calisthenics. They look pretty good to me. And don't underestimate the power of bodyweight movements. Think about a burpee. A burpee, in case you didn't know, is a full body compound movement where you're required to get on the ground and get all the way back up. Nearly every muscle in the body has to contract to make this happen. It also targets some of the largest muscle groups like your shoulders, glutes, quads, and hamstring. It's actually been a year since I did 100 burpees a day for 30 days challenge. Funny enough, that also coincided when I was at my leanest. I mean, my diet was also almost perfect during that time. If you're up for a challenge, you should try it. I guarantee, in fact, I will double guarantee that you're going to be unrecognizable if you do 3,000 burpees in 30 days. Mistake number 5 is probably just as common as mistake number 1. A lot of people spend way too much time doing this. This is a prime example of majoring in the minor. You're doing too much ab exercises. If you want to see your abs, doing ab-specific exercises are basically a waste of time. Okay, maybe that's a little too extreme. Let's just say it's not the most efficient way to do it. It's only going to get you so far, and not very far. Having abs comes from a low body fat percentage. 80% of your body composition is determined by your diet. You should focus on that. It's true when they say that abs are made in the kitchen. So doing 100 sit-ups every day isn't really going to help with that. And if you've done countless sit-ups and you still can't see your abs, you already know this to be true. One of the biggest exercise myths is that you can somehow spot treat where you're going to burn fat, because the thinking is that if you do bicep curls, it's going to build your biceps. Therefore, if you do enough sit-ups, you're going to magically see your abs. No. That's not how it works. The best ab exercise is 5 sets of stop eating so much crap. Also, going back to keeping things simple, heavy squats and deadlifts can activate your ab muscles far better than a lot of traditional ab exercises. So doing 10 heavy squats and other compound movements is going to be infinitely better for you than doing 10 setups. Mistake number 6, this is your bonus tip, you're not doing enough NEAT. I always like to say that we evolved to move as human beings. Otherwise, you'd be a tree. We did not evolve to run for hours every day and fall into chronic exercise patterns. Our ancestors regularly walked 5 miles every day, and they would occasionally sprint, so a short burst of running at maximum effort when they're hunting. They also climbed trees and built shelters, which means moving big pieces of wood and heavy rocks, aka strength training. They were really active, and they were all naturally lean and strong. And this is another important point that I want to bring up. It's just as important as working out. If you want to be a healthy and happy human being, your goal is to avoid prolonged periods where you're completely sedentary. Nothing shuts down your fat-burning metabolism faster than prolonged periods where you're not moving. Your hour-long gym session or home workout is not enough to fulfill your daily activity goal. That's just one piece of the puzzle. Because if you work out, but then you turn into a couch potato afterwards, you're still living a mostly sedentary lifestyle. The solution is to be more conscious of increasing your NEAT. NEAT stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It's the energy expended for everything we do when we're not sleeping or exercising, hence the term non-exercise. Things like mowing the lawn, walking up a flight of stairs, carrying groceries, walking your dog are all great examples. If you have a desk-bound office job, your level of NEAT is generally appalling compared to someone who works as a server at a restaurant or a nurse who's mostly on their feet for their entire shift. For example, the average steps a day for a server is a mind-blowing 22,778 steps, while nurses take 16,390 steps on average. According to Dr. James Levine, who first described this phenomenon, NEAT can vary up to 2,000 calories a day between two people of the same size. That means that just by moving around and being on your feet more, again like humans were designed to be, you can burn an additional 2,000 calories without even trying. If you've ever tracked macros before, 2,000 calories is a significant number. Imagine how much more freedom you can have with your diet if you get to eat even half of those calories more. That can be an absolute game changer. Now, let's quickly talk about exercise physiology for this to make sense. Fat, which is what most people are trying to get rid of, burns well in the presence of oxygen. That only happens when you're in the aerobic zone. Aerobic literally means with oxygen. Walking, which is what servers and nurses do for their entire shift, is one of the easiest and effortless ways to increase your NEAT. But more importantly, it almost always keeps your heart rate below your maximum aerobic heart rate. Why is that important? Well, your maximum aerobic heart rate is the point where you reach maximum aerobic benefits, that's maximum fat burning, with a minimum amount of anaerobic stimulation. This is the infamous fat burning zone. It exists. If you're trying to lose body fat, that's exactly what you want. If you go past that threshold, aka running or even jogging, you start burning an increasing amount of glucose instead of fat, and you stimulate more stress hormone production because it's hard. Which brings us back to mistake number 2. If you're curious and you want to know exactly what your maximum aerobic heart rate is, you can use Dr. Phil Maffetone's formula of taking 180 minus your age, and that's your number in beats per minute. So if you're 33, like me, your maximum aerobic heart rate is 147 beats per minute. Again, if you just go for a walk or do other types of NEAT, you're almost always guaranteed to stay below that number because it's easy. It doesn't jack up your heart rate. Bottom line, do your best to stay active outside of your workouts to really maximize your results. That's why I'm such a big advocate of setting a goal of getting 10,000 steps every day. And if you want to know how to put this all together, keep watching. The next question then becomes, how are you actually supposed to eat if you want to lose weight? Because here's the thing, 80% of your body composition is determined by your diet. You can't just freestyle this part. Do you have a proven plan that you can follow? To help you with that, I want to give you a free copy of my Lean Body Blueprint. This is how I was finally able to get rid of all my unwanted body fat without depriving myself of my favorite foods or spending countless hours at the gym. It's a simple 4-step process specifically designed for busy professionals, and it's the exact same blueprint that I teach to all my students, and they've all gone to see some amazing results. If you want to be the next success story, then download your free copy of the Lean Body Blueprint right now. There's going to be a link somewhere at the top here or in the description box. Just click on it, type in your email, and I'll send it to you right away. Hey, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and share it with your friends. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I post a new video every week, and feel free to leave a comment below if you have any questions about this video. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Virtual high five.